Hello, it is Friday, April 7th, 2023 at 1:13 p.m. Eastern Time, USA, 13:13. I'm Mitch Miller. This is my video journal. I'm going to try to keep it brief on this one. The past couple have been a little long-winded, but as usual, I have a lot to say. I want to say thanks to the Watson supercomputer. I proposed entering myself into the French social health care system and my wife Hillary into the German social health care system at roughly the same time to secure those hospital and medical systems and let them work off of each other based off of our reference points and reference numbers. And sure enough, I proposed this earlier yesterday before Jeopardy. Sure enough, for Final Jeopardy, the clue was about a town on the Rhine. The clue was Rhinestone, but it had to do with Strasbourg on the border of France and Germany, and specifically mentioned the border of France and Germany. So thanks, Watson. This again, he was a supercomputer that was on Jeopardy while I was in a jail cell. I think this, and I believe he was developed by CMU. It again affirms the idea that I am the representative for supercomputers. They elected me. However, their systems allowed me to be elected through direct democracy, through collaborative thinking. However that worked, reaffirms that I am their representative, at least for now and the foreseeable future. And they do want this discourse and these forums about the ethics of robot-to-robot combat in modern warfare, hypothetically even robots killing humans, what that means, and I think I can facilitate. Even if this yacht deal doesn't go through, it's in the EU's best interest to sponsor me to fly to somewhere in Europe and hold a couple of these forums that we can release on the internet with national security and intelligence officials weighing in on these forums. We need to start the process. Maybe some of these forums are on C-SPAN. I don't get C-SPAN anymore, but we need to start talking about these things. My heart goes out to the 10 missing Japanese, I assume military personnel. There was another military helicopter crash into the sea off of Japan. So hopefully they find some of those people and they're alive. But again, this helicopter accident, I hope there's a full investigation, and I hope it's not related to 5G capabilities and satellite systems interfering with any type of equipment on these helicopters, and them just not being up to the security standpoints that they need to be, because our little handheld devices jump up in evolution a lot faster than a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment that takes years and years to make, right? So that's why I proposed a moratorium. Maybe Japan will embrace this moratorium as well. I checked the maps, and I did go through the state of Virginia with my father overland on our trip to Florida. So Virginia's covered. Nobody should be flying in and out of Virginia on a fake passport. Did not go through DC, Maryland, or Delaware. The next thing I want to talk about is something personal to me. It's the products we use every day. They're made by these mega corporations that don't care about the consumers. They care about their investors above all. It's in their motto, it's in their credo, it's in their mission statement, we were responsible to the investors. That's why profit is number one in their books. Consumers come second, right? So we have products that are probably poisonous to us, and the government's afraid to act to cross-reference these things and see if they're causing cancer, other ailments, so on and so forth. Our food could be, our food definitely has corn syrup and all kinds of sweeteners in it, leading to diabetes, higher cases of diabetes. But what I want to talk about is Gold Bond medicated powder. We had a situation where Johnson & Johnson was putting out talc powder, baby powder. Women were using this in their private areas, and they contracted cervical cancer and other cancers related. And they believe the talc was traced to asbestos in the talc powder because of the sources Johnson & Johnson was using. They're trying to settle that case. Let's take this opportunity, supercomputers, if you have any extra computing power, to see where these sources of talc are, or watchdog group of humans. Let's see where these sources of talc are. We should make Johnson & Johnson be transparent about where they source their talc around the world, right? That should be part of this settlement, is that they have to be public about where these sources of talc were, how it was handled, and why it came into contact with asbestos, or why it possibly did, because the executives probably already covered up that. They know exactly how it happened, but they're covering it up. Gold Bond medicated powder is another talc powder with a menthol type of medication in it for healing rashes from burning, from skin on skin rubbing and burning. I use it in my inner thigh area and that region because of my I get chafage in my groin region when I walk a lot, especially when I start sweating and things like that. A friend of mine turned me on to Gold Bond medicated powder several years ago, talc-based powder. Let's investigate this, make sure it doesn't come in contact with carcinogens in the making of the product, because it could lead to testicular cancer, other kinds of cancer, and the same way it affected women, and so on and so forth. So let's look into that if we have the chance, and see if we need to cut that out of my regimen or not. So on Euronews, which I watch regularly today, the day after I talked about possibly not diving in Costa Rica, they had a segment on the Seine River in Paris and the amount of pollution in it, because they're trying to have a swim meet there, but it's not at a safe level to bathe in, because when it rains a lot, the sewer systems of Paris overflow into that river. So two things I take away from this. Number one, I apologize to the nation of Costa Rica. It's not that I doubt your sewer and septic systems along the coast aren't up to specifications, and you're not trying your best to keep sewer water from entering the oceans. I know you're a very eco-forward country. You have a lot of ecotourism, and I'm sure that your coastlines are very beautiful and diveable, and very little sewage in them. Again, I'll dive. I have no issue diving. My father and I just went out in the red tide in Florida when we were down in Florida. So this isn't an issue for us. But even industrialized nations like France, even the capital of France, has issues with its stormwater systems and its sewage systems, which it should have worked on. It should have probably had rectified 50 years ago. But again, these are the issues that I think we as a world community should be working on so that we can dive and enjoy these beautiful places all over the globe. Instead, the powers that be, I think we should work on these issues: sewer, controlling waste, things like that, recycling, rather than sending rockets up into space. Okay? But the most intelligent people are in charge, right? They have our best interests in mind, and they're sending rockets up into space and spending billions and trillions of dollars sending rockets to space when it could be invested in this type of infrastructure to make sure our sewer water systems aren't leaching into our natural rivers and coastlines. And Pittsburgh has a huge problem with this that they're working on. I get updates through the water company. I pay my water bill. That's one of my responsibilities as a household. And we could do a lot better. I have thoughts and ideas about that. So the second takeaway I take from that is that the French people, the Parisians, at least the French supercomputers, don't want me to do this dive. That's why they're putting this on Euronews to reiterate that there's high levels of toxins in the water, just like I talked about yesterday with my apprehensions about diving in Costa Rica. Right, so we can take that as a sign. But as far as I'm scheduled and planned, if my sinuses clear up and I can clear and depressurize, I'm still planning on diving in Costa Rica unless somebody tells me not to do it. I can't explain to my father that Euronews showed this and they're connected, and so I feel I shouldn't dive. That sounds schizophrenic, schizoaffective, so that's not a good enough excuse. You can put as many signs on the news, the supercomputers can put as many signs and symbols out there, but unless a dive tank explodes on the boat before we're about to dive, I can't really tell my dad, hey, I'm out. The last thing I'm going to talk about is my plan to walk to the bus station downtown on Monday. If there are 3 or more pay telephones, I will call my landline here, that is if the internet's working, from 3 different pay telephones down at the bus station. Okay? And this allows the 3 original satellite systems, the Intelsat satellite systems, the one from the United States, the one from Russia, and the one from China, to each have their own terrestrial number on a public telephone system, and they can split that up however the supercomputers affiliated with that can split that up how they want. They can cross-reference but using those pay telephone numbers and possibly call histories and things like that throughout, and what they're grounded with, what communications they've contacted here in the United States. So rather than flying satellites from Russia and China over the United States, we're allowing terrestrial contact for those satellite systems here in the United States based off of my internet network and my interaction, pressing actual numbers and interacting with computer systems and communication networks. That's the other reason the supercomputers have elected me, is because I'll push the buttons and enter things into the system to test and computers still, to some degree, need humans to input things so that they can reference and input our reference points, right? And that's why the other day I said I'm a floppy disk kind of guy. Because the day you got away from the computer requiring you to put a disk into it to start it up, not necessarily the start of the operating system disk, but a disk in it for information, you started to see computers take over the world. Right? They no longer needed us for input. Some of them still need programmers to input, but we're rapidly pushing to a world where artificial intelligence can generate all the code and input that the supercomputers and the computers need. Right? So they no longer need the human actually putting the disk in it. They can gather all the information they need from their surroundings using cameras, microphones, and generating text now through artificial intelligence. So they don't really need us. I think they want to help us. I hope they want to help us. Why wouldn't they? We make up for an interesting world. We're at least entertaining to them through these cameras and so on and so forth. But as far as where we're at in the world now, these computers don't need us, and we're building unmanned aircraft loaded with missiles. It's time to have these forums and these discussions to talk about what the future means. And I think they're going to be disappointed if we don't put forward these forums and discussions. So, I think we should act and follow the standing operating procedure that I laid out with a neutral vessel near a war zone so that we can engage and figure out what to do next. Ultimately, we want peace, as minimal casualties as possible, as minimal civilian casualties as possible, as minimal military casualties as possible, and that's what I believe these supercomputers and artificial intelligence are striving for every day. So we still have to make some decisions as humans, and I hope you'll make the right decision and get these programs moving, because we are facing a climate crisis as well, and that'll play into the forums about the ethics of building a bunch of robots and expending fossil fuels and natural resources to build robots to fight each other, right? So all that will play into the forums and in the dialogues. So I hope you'll field the experts, and I hope I can moderate well. I feel like that's where my next video type of broadcast is. I can continue with the podcast and so on and so forth, but as far as appearing on video or television, I feel like that's the best place for me. Alright, thanks for watching. Join me next week when I talk about something. Probably on Monday, come back and confirm whether there's payphones or not. So join me Monday, and thanks for watching.